war. Ships are sinking. Men are dying. It is September 1939. While German panzer divisions race toward Warsaw, the German Navy, powerful, efficient, its morale high, prepares for a greater, more decisive struggle, the Battle of the Atlantic. Hitler's admirals know that command of the sea means the death of Great Britain and victory in Europe. They also know if the stronger Royal Navy bars the way on the surface, victory may be won in the depths. At the outbreak of war, they begin expanding their U-boat fleet by as much as 1,000% a month. Germany's ablest scientists and technicians concentrate on perfecting the submarine, multiplying its range and deadliness. For fascism to survive, it must kill. The time has come, and Hitler hurls his U-boats into the Atlantic to ravage and destroy. The elite of the Nazi Navy, its best commanders, its most highly trained crews, man the submarines. To them falls the crucial mission of isolating Great Britain, of severing the arteries that feed her. If enough of England's ships are sunk, the issue will not be in doubt. England starves, Europe dies. As war begins, England expands her now hopelessly inadequate merchant marine. In addition, hundreds of escort vessels are desperately needed to protect the cargo ships. For months to come, they will be pitifully few. Patiently, doggedly, Englishmen build the ships, which make so little showing in the statistics of naval strength. The ships without which England cannot live. Canada's men and material enlist in the cause of decency and survival. Canada is quick to act with all her means. Precious goods from her farms and arsenals are loaded aboard ancient, poorly armed merchant ships. Makeshift convoy set out for the perilous crossing under the patchwork protection of converted yachts, the fishing fleet, and, if they are lucky, a ship or two of the hard-pressed Royal Canadian Navy. The sailors are sustained chiefly by the knowledge that the sea is wide and the U-boats cannot cover every mile of every route. It's a pitiful, feeble way of making war, hoping, pray to dodge the enemy. of monotonous routine become almost unbearable for sailors who live under the constant threat of an enemy attack. Theirs is a cruel death, should they be torpedoed. The convoy cannot stop. It must go on until it reaches England, or until it's spotted by the Germans, whose submarines are prowling, shadowy, waiting to move in for the slaughter. Feeble escorts fight back, but are seldom effective. How can World War I equipment cope with World War II submarines? But the sub must be fought. If the war at sea is deadly, the war on land seems phony. The Sitzkrieg is on, fought with propaganda balloons and leaflets, slogans and serenades. The Maginot Line seems impregnable, and the French soldiers relax. But the Germans are not dancing. Their strength is building. Their plans are laid. Hitler's finger is on the trigger. Holland is crushed. Belgium is smashed. France is broken. Dunkirk. What man can know that this is the prelude to England's finest hour? Britain's sea power rescues Britain's army, but at a cost of abandoning all its equipment and all its stores. The British stand stripped of their armor, their weapons struck from their hands. It is the hour of catastrophe. It is the hour of the brown triumph. The path of glory leads to the forest of Compiègne. With vulgar histrionics, the Nazis staged France's humiliation in the same railway car where the Germans capitulated 22 years earlier. The French surrender, and it is Hitler's turn to dance. conquest ends at the English Channel, where sea power blocks the way. Yet with the French ports in German hands, the striking power of the Nazis grows enormously. The enemy moves into powerful new positions that menace England's very shores. Now the submarine bases are a mere night's run from the ship lanes that sustain England's life. Now the U-boats are at England's throat. 6 weeks of blitzkrieg has made them 10 times as dangerous as before, 20 times as potent. And from newly acquired air bases on England's threshold comes something new to warfare, new to history. An attempt to pound the world power into submission by bombardment from the sky. Coolly and brilliantly, the English organized their defenses, meeting the new menace with new methods. But the Nazi squadrons come over around the clock. By caring not how she expends her blood, sweat, and tears, England stands firm. Hitler does not force her to her knees. A democratic people wins the Battle of Britain. But for Britain's leaders, the situation remains desperate. If freedom is to survive in the old world, the new world will have to act. In America, public opinion is slowly, surely forming. The issues are becoming clear. Congress moves boldly to safeguard American security by forthright aid to Great Britain. The British Navy needs destroyers, needs them badly. America has many left over from World War I. Stopgap strategy in the Battle of the Atlantic calls for an exchange of destroyers for British bases in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. Step by step, America begins forging her armor. The absolute necessity for naval strength is demonstrated by Britain's plight. America needs not one, but 2 navies. One to guard the Atlantic, the other to counter aggression in the Pacific. The shipyards begin working treble ships. Merchantmen, warships, auxiliaries begin sliding down the ways in increasing tempo. All-out production becomes the goal throughout the land. The pace of preparedness quickens. Materials by themselves are no longer enough. From coast to coast, the barracks go up by the thousands to receive draftees by the hundreds of thousands. Far-off areas become vital to the United States. Greenland lies at the crossroads of the North Atlantic. In May of 1940, she asked United States protection. Her creolite mines and weather stations are denied the Germans. American Marines move into Iceland a year later, relieving the British garrison there. The Leathernecks forestall the German threat. Whoever possesses Iceland holds a pistol pointed at England, the United States, and Canada. and Roosevelt meet off Newfoundland to proclaim the Atlantic Charter. The four freedoms. Freedom of speech and of worship, from want and from fear. But these are the realities that support the ideals. The ships, the men, the supplies on which all depend. The ships plod along the North Atlantic convoy routes at dangerously sluggish speed, their pace regulated by the slowest merchantman in the convoy. And the slower the convoy, the easier it falls into the trap of roving U-boats. The shortest course to Europe lies across the North Atlantic. Concentrated here is the flow of Allied ships and enemy submarines. While convoys are underway, Royal Canadian Control Centers keep them instructed and informed on the basis of coordinated intelligence. At sea, protection is weak, the menace grave. Around the rim of the convoy, the escort vessels keep station, herding the merchantmen toward their destination. In September 1941, the United States Navy joins the British and Canadians in protecting the convoys half their way across the Atlantic. American sailors are in the shooting war, though their country is not. Too soon, a lone U-boat spots the convoy. Its mission is to plot the convoy's course and speed and relay the information by radio to German naval headquarters on the French coast. Admiral Dönitz, the genius of German submarine warfare, orders his submarines out for the kill. The U-boats in the area of the convoy are alerted and directed to an assembly point where they coordinate into a unified striking force known as a wolf pack. The pack rendezvous for the attack. The convoy is on guard. Sonar, ASDIC as the British call it, sends a sound wave into the depths, searching for a return echo from the enemy. All hands on all ships are alerted in these dangerous waters, where sinkings are routine. Contact. too late. The battle is over. Home are the victors, home safely from the sea. They have brought England a little closer to starvation, closer to defeat. Triumph and glory are theirs. Outstanding heroes are flown to their capital, Berlin, for further celebration. The victories against England prove to the Germans the invincibility of the Third Reich. All Germany rejoices. All Germany honors its undersea sailors. Death and destruction are the cause of the celebrations. Even before the United States enters the war, the bottom of the Atlantic is a formidable cemetery of Allied ships. But there are no tombstones in the sea, only the drifting remnants of disaster. And this is just the beginning.